Hello and welcome to taik18. I'm Mohammed Adnan, and in this video, we are going to discuss about how to use data pipelines in Microsoft Fabric. While I'm sharing my screen, if you are new to this channel or if you haven't subscribed yet, just click on the subscribe button and also press the bell icon to get the latest notifications. Now let's get started. So use data factory pipelines in Microsoft Fabric. This is one of the cool features in Microsoft Fabric. There are a lot actually while I'm recording this video. Anyway, so Microsoft Fabric, if you look into this entire platform, the first pillar is data factory. So from there, we can ingest the data from different sources and do the transformations and also load into different destinations. That is what we are going to discuss today on this video. So data pipelines defines a sequence of activities that orchestrates an overall process, usually by extracting data from one or more sources and loading it into different destinations, often transforming it along the way. That's the beautiful thing here. So if you look into this one, the data factory pipeline, this is actually come from the same Azure data factory itself. I mean, they are even built up from the ground up here in Fabric, but the terminology and look and feel everything is similar to what we have it on Azure Data Factory. If you are from Azure Data Factory, then you are easy to gear up here on the Data Factory as well. So pipeline in Microsoft Fabric encapsulate a sequence of activities that perform data movements and processing tasks. If you look into the screen here, you have this pipeline entire thing, whatever you are seeing it on the screen. But inside to that, you have an activity tab. And whatever the three cards which you are seeing here on the center canvas is actually this sequence of activities. And the arrow which is there, it refers actually, it has to do the delete process first, and then it has to do the data flow part, and then it has to do the notebook part. So this is how the sequence works on that. So that's why it says that it encapsulates everything, the sequence of operations one by one within this pipeline. So there are certain core concepts in Microsoft Fabric which you need to understand on the data pipeline, which is activities, parameters, and pipeline runs. So what does it mean? We'll dig into that deeper now. So if you create a pipeline in Data Factory, it's the look and feel will give you like this here. So the center is the main canvas. On the top, you will see the ribbon, and if you click on the more activities, then you will see still more activities which you can able to do using the data pipelines. And here the first one which we usually do is activities. So activities in the sense, what are the activities we can do? We can do a copy activity, and we can also do the data flow gen 2 here. And we can also use the notebook, and we can also use stored procedure. And if you want to delete something else, also we can use that activity inside of this here. So these are all comes under activities, data transformation activities here. Another kind of activity which we have it here is a control flow activities, where if you want to set any kind of variables, if you want to set any kind of conditional dimension, I mean conditional directions here, if the activity fails, then it has to go through this. If activity pass, then it has to go through this. For example, then you can also do this conditional activities here inside to the pipeline. And the next thing here is a parameter. So this is also a useful feature because if you want to set up a different parameters for each and every activity, you can also define that. For example, the data ingestion process from where you need to get the data. If you want to change it on a daily basis, then also you can do that. Let's assume that you have a drive on your SharePoint and you want to extract the daily data, what it comes inside to that. In that case, you can specify the date here as parameter. Then whenever it runs on a daily basis, it will fetch for that particular date and then fetch only those information from the SharePoint. This is just an example, but it can be into multiple use cases on the real-time scenarios. All right, so finally the runs here. So if you click on the run tab, then we have the option about validate our flow, and then we can schedule it based on our flexibility. And then we can also run manually here, and we'll also can see the history of the run. When you click on that, it just gives a breakup of each and every activity inside of that pipeline runs here. So that's the beautiful thing. So the main important here is the copy activity, which usually the most common use case. So when to use copy activity basically. So you can use the copy activity when you want to directly get the data from the source subsystem and load it into destination without any transformations. So in that case, you can make use of the copy activity. Let's say, for example, want to load the data from your text or CSV file and load it into a destination of your lakehouse. Like we discussed on the medallion architecture, so you want to get the data from different sources and load it into a bronze layer. In that case, you can use a copy activity. We also discussed the same thing in that previous video. If you haven't seen that, I recommend you to go and watch that medallion architecture video. It will be helpful for you to understand how these things works. And now this is the thing, right? So you can use the copy activity in order to do that. But if you want to do any kind of transformation inside to that, then either you can use data flow gen 2 or you can use the notebook activities for that. So when it comes to copy data activity, I'm going to show you that in the demo as well, but this is just an overview on that. So this is the home canvas screen where you have the first option of pipeline activity, start with the guidance. You have the copy assistance, practice with the sample data, and we also have a template here. So when you click on copy assistant or the pipeline activity, then you will see the copy activity on the top left hand side. So which is actually, if you click on that, there you will have the option about source. We also have a parameter option where you can specify that. And also we have a destination here from where you want to pick the information and from where you want to load that data inside to that copy activity. All right. So another example which you have here is a copy assistance tool here. So if you're not familiar with all those things, then you can have a wizard option where you can select from these options here. In this wizard, we have multiple options where we want to select the data source first, and then we need to connect to that particular table or view. And after that, we need to select the destination in where we want to load that information. And in the destination, we need to select the existing lakehouse or create a new lakehouse for that. And finally, we need to define how we want to store the information. Basically, it has to be in the Parquet file itself when it comes to lakehouse. And then finally, we need to enable also the V-order because that helps actually to process faster in the loading of the data. And finally, we need to review that this is going to be get the data from Azure SQL and loading into a lakehouse destination for that. All right, so that's an example of what we are seeing on using the wizard using the copy activity. Another thing which we have it here is use pipeline templates. So you can define pipelines from any combination of activity you choose, enabling to create custom data ingestion and transformation process to meet your specific needs. So there are predefined templates available in Data Factory. That's pretty amazing because we don't need to investigate further what are the activities we need to do in order to get the data from this source to this destination. So all other things has been here. As you can see it on the image, we have the option to choose where to start. So if you click on the sample template, on the right hand side, you can see the screen where you'll get the option about bulk copy from the database, bulk copy from files to database, and copy data from Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 to Lakehouse file. And here also copy data from Data Lake SQL DB to Lakehouse table. So there are multiple things here where we can make use of that. And also we have a delete files older than 30 days. Yeah, this is also a cool feature. So we can make use of these activities template, and then we can just define our own pipelines, our own lakehouse and destination and source for that. And finally, how we can run and monitor the pipeline. Like I said in the beginning of this video, that we have an option that we can run manually, or we can also schedule this pipeline based on our flexibility. This is really a cool feature. Like if you are getting a data from a different source, for example, and then you are doing some transformations, you're using copy activity, and then you're doing some transformation in the data flow Gen 2. And after that, you want to refresh your Power BI data set. So this is really cool part because since the launch of Power BI, we don't have any flexibility, the option where we want to refresh a data flow and then we want to refresh the data at the same time. I mean, after the data flow refresh, we don't have that option. But now in the Fabric, we have that flexibility that copy data from different sources, do the transformation in the data flow Gen 2, and then refresh the Power BI semantic model after the data flow refresh using the pipeline. That's beautiful. So everything, the sequence of process happens within this pipeline itself. So we can schedule the pipeline that it has to run at 4 a.m. in the morning. It will do the 4 a.m. job, and then it will do the transformation at 4:30. For example, if it takes half an hour to load the data, if it is volume is huge, for example, I'm just saying. And after that data flow Gen 2 has refreshed, then it has to be refresh the Power BI semantic model. It will work on that. So we don't need to wait or schedule something other different timing, like we have to wait for 2 hours. If that doesn't refresh, then this will refresh fail kind of thing. We don't need to worry about those things now on. All right, so for each and every run, it is going to track a history of that. And if you want to dig deeper into that for each and every activity inside of the pipeline, we can also do that. So click on that And on the right hand side, you can see it just gives a breakup about what has done and how much time it has taken for each and every sequence of the process here. If something you feel that which is taking huge amount of time, like for example, the data flow Gen 2 is taking a huge amount of time, then you need to think about either you can use notebook in that case, or you want to optimize something on the data flow Gen 2 steps what you have done here. But for example, like I also said in other videos as well, that I also worked on the pipeline activity, I also worked on the notebook activity, and also worked on the data flow Gen 2. But compared with these three things, I feel like notebook performs much better if you're working with a large amount of the data here, because the capacity, the engine behind the scene is actually performed faster compared to the other two pipelines and what we have it on the data flow Gen 2. So if you ask me about the sequence, the first preference is if you are just using the copy activity, then copy is the ideal choice. But you can use the notebook and copy and then pipeline, and then you can use this data flow Gen 2 option for that. So now we look into the demo, how it actually works. But before to that, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please click on the subscribe button and also press the bell icon to get the latest notification. Now let's look into the demo. All right. So ingest data with pipeline in Microsoft Fabric. A data lakehouse is a common analytic data store for cloud scale analytics solutions. One of the core tasks of data engineer is to implement and manage data ingestion of data from multiple operational data sources into lakehouse. In Microsoft Fabric, you can implement extract, transform, and load, or extract, load, and transform solution for data ingestion through the creation of pipelines. Here, I just want to make a pause. So here they have defined two different keywords. One is ETL, extract, transform, and load. Another is extract, load, and transform. What does it mean actually? So there are common use cases here when you're working in the data field is like extract, transform, and load in the sense like you are extracting data from the source and then you are transforming it here and then loading to different destination. In that case, the data flow Gen 2 is an example for that. So you are getting a data from different sources and you're doing the transformation within the Power Query engine, and then you are loading into a different destination. So that is helpful for the extract, transform, and load. Now, when it comes to extract, load, and transform, so in that case, pipeline activity is an ideal choice for that, like copy activity. So you are copying the data from the source, extract, and then loading the data into a lakehouse. And after that, you are taking the data from the lakehouse to do the further transformation and do the reporting on that. So that is actually extract, load, and transform. So data flow Gen 2 is for ETL and copy activity is for ELT operations here. Yeah, hope that is clear for you. So next here, Fabric also support Apache Spark, enabling you to write and run code to process data at scale. By combining the pipeline and Spark capabilities in Fabric, you can implement complex data ingestion logic that copies data from external sources into OneLake storage on which the lakehouse is based, and then uses Spark code to perform custom data transformation before loading it into tables for analysis. That's great. So now for this is the tutorial what we have. And if I just go back to this one, this is as usual, we need to click on the workspaces in your Fabric environment, and then you need to create a workspace which has to be backed by Word, which has to be backed by Fabric capacity. Yeah, that's it. Because these are all the workload which you are using up here is a Fabric thing. So clicking on the left bottom, we have a Power BI, and from here we need to select Data Factory so that we can create those items here. So in the Data Factory, we have two options, Data Flow Gen 2 and Data Pipeline. And the other two, what we are able to see is these are all kind of preview feature, which is actually the newly introduced one, which I also talked about that the third-party workloads. So here, the workload which refers to here, the Data Factory, Data Activator are all the workloads in Fabric, and these are all the items in the Fabric. So this is also one of the items which is from the third party, is showing up here. So now we are focusing on the data pipeline. So we need to click on the data pipeline here. First of all, you need to go to the workspace, right? So clicking on this one, actually now it is in my workspace. I need to click on go to any workspace and then go to the data factory workload, and then you need to click on new and data pipeline. So once you click on that, then it's asking you about the name. So we need to provide a name here, which I'd like to give it here 0604-2024, and then click on it has to be 2024-0604. Yeah. So once you create on that, it is going to give you a blank canvas. On the top, you will see the ribbons and other control features, activities, and all. So that is what it is mentioned here. We can see the create a lakehouse, and then we need to do that option pipeline activity here. Yeah, but first of all, we need to also create a lakehouse into our environment so that we can load the data from copy activity into that lakehouse here. So in that case, let's create a lakehouse. So let's go back to the workspace. If you want to create a lakehouse, then you also can create a lakehouse here and lakehouse. Or else we can also directly create a lakehouse from the pipeline activity itself. So let's go here. We'll try that way. So here we have a pipeline activity, copy assistant, sample data, and other things. So now we can use the option about copy assistant. Oh, actually, we need to use the other one, but that's also fine, not an issue. So here under the data source, I'd like to connect to HTTP here and copy this link. So the source has need to put it here as HTTP. All right, and then there's the URL, and this can be new connection, or no need to have any gateway for that, and click on next, because this is an open source one, so it's easily accessible from outside without any credentials. All right, so data source connection is created here, and then we can click on next. So now we need to select the destination of that. So the destination here is refers to this still loading up here. In most cases, the UI, I mean, if it is a kind of wizard, it's actually helpful. So here now you're seeing it is asking about you want to create a new fabric item or you want to click on the existing OneLake data hub here. So if you click on the existing OneLake data hub, it's going to load all the items available which I have access. So I can select any one of the workspaces, I mean lakehouse from here, or I can also create a new one. So let's create a new one from here. So we can also create a new other destinations as well, or new only fabric item, which is the lakehouse here. So clicking on the lakehouse, and now I need to give it a name here, which has to be pipelines, data pipeline 2024-060401. And here you have the option about create and connect. But if you're using an existing lakehouse, then you need to select from OneLake data hub and then select on that. So right now I'm just using create and connect. This is going to create a new lakehouse on that workspace, and then it is going to connect to that because it need to get the data from that HTTP location and then load it into this one. All right, here it has to be table because we cannot add that into CSV into table here, and you need to create a new table for that. And these are all the columns, and it has also taken the data type of that. And also we have option about the destination and destination data type here. So if you want to specify some changes here, you can also make use of the changes here. Like the unit price has to be the number. I'd like to give this to be decimal, and tax amount also to be decimal, and quantity also to be decimal here in my case. And then we can customize further. I think the order date has to be the date. Sorry. And email address, if you have that one, we don't have that. All right. I think this is good for now. And then we can click on next. To see it is given an icon here. It is running from HTTP to the lakehouse as a destination and start data transfer immediately. Click on save and run. So this is going to save an activity. You can see it is added here as an activity, and now it is running that activity here. So it is running up here. Everything looks good. So now it's going to load the data from that HTTP and into the lakehouse here. It is still running up here, and at the bottom you can see it is given an option about it's actually giving up the current status of the each and every activity here. Right now this is still in progress, and we'll wait for another few seconds so that it can load from the from the source to the destination. Now it is succeeded here, so now we have the data onto the pipeline. All right, so if I go to this workspace again and open up the pipeline, which is added here, now we should see a new table with the data preview on to the canvas. Yeah, it is on the table. We have HTTP server file. Yeah, that's the file name which we have. If you want to rename that, you can click here and then rename that file. Let's rename this to be sales. All right, it is renamed here and everything looks good. So what is the next step? So the next step here is we have now the data loaded from the source to the lakehouse, which is extract and load. Now we need to do the transformation here. So how we can do the transformation? The transformation we can do it is we can create a notebook and then we can add the notebook inside to the pipeline. So if I go back to the pipeline now, which is this one. Okay, let's on the top we have the activities, and here we have the option about previously we selected the copy activity using copy assistance. And now if you want to transform using data flow Gen 2, you can also click on data flow here, or you can use the notebook here. So in this case, I'm going to use the notebook activity. So here select the notebook. It's added here notebook. So once this is successful, so we have 4 options for each and every card here. One is this is on skip, on success, on failure, and on completion. So here it has to be on success. So clicking on this one and adding up here. So I'm just clicking after this one, you do this one. So selecting on this notebook here, you see, but first of all, let's click on the copy activity. Here we have a general tab where it has given these options about this. And then we have a source. This is coming from the HTTP location, and these are the settings. And then we have a destination, which is this lake house. If you want to change that, then also you can do that from here. That's cool. And the table name also is mentioned here. So let's change this to be sales, because in future, if you want to add, then you can also do that. In advance, we have option about you want to append that or override. So I just want this to be override. And the mapping here refers to the from source column to the destination column. That works fine. And settings, there are other things also we have. This we can discuss in the later part of the video, not on this one, in another video on that. Because this is an essential series, so we just want to cover only the essential part, which is for the fabric. All right, so for the notebook, if you click on the similar thing, so it has added a notebook here, and in the settings, here I just need to select the workspace. This is the correct workspace. And here we need to select this notebook, which is this one, obviously. If you want to have any other notebook, then also you can select from that option here. But technically, this is the one. So clicking on this notebook here, and it is all right. So we have mapped this one notebook 1 into the notebook which is available on to this workspace. Cool. So now if you click on open, then it's going to open that notebook. And then from there, we can do the transformations and all. All right. Now this is added here, like we discussed on the previous video. This is a notebook UI. On the left hand side, we have the Explorer. I need to click on the lakehouse here. So it is now connected to the lakehouse. Beautiful. On the center one, we have this canvas, and we have every cell here. Type here in the cell editor to add a code here. That's beautiful thing. So if I expand this is not the lakehouse actually, right? What we created here. In that case, you can just click on the lakehouse tab or here add, and you can select the existing lakehouse, click on the add, and have to select this one and click on add option here. So now this is going to replace with this one. Now we have the sales option. So click, drag and drop the sales onto this one cell. So it is now adding up the cells, which is a select star from this table, from this lake house, and limit this to be 10, and then displaying this into a data frame. So if you want to know more about the notebook and other things, I recommend you to watch the other videos, which I am going to add that in the series, so that you can clearly understand how these things work. So initially, for the first run itself, it will take some time because it has to start the engine behind the scene. But after that, every process, it will be much faster in notebook. So now this is loaded into this one. This is the look and feel of that. So we have the sales order number, line number, order date. Everything looks good here. So if you want to add a new code, then you just need to mouse over here, click on the code, and then you can write your code here. All right. Now I just added a new line of codes here, which is from the document. So first of all, this is taking the libraries functions from this Spark SQL functions, and then it's reading the data from either we can use this option, select star from sales table, which is on here on the left hand side, or we can also just read a CSV file if you have that into the file section here. So for now, I'll delete this one, and then I'm going to load that into data frame like we discussed just before. And after that, I'm going to add a new column, which is the year and month column. And then I just want to split this first name and last name into this separately, and just want to reorder this alignment here. And finally, load this information into sales 01. So it's going to override that and click on run here. So if I do so, then this is going to connect and run to this one and create a new data table onto the left hand side. Yeah, the job is now completed. If I go to this left hand side tables and click on refresh, now I should see another table which is sales 01. That's beautiful as per the name here on my canvas. Right. So now we have defined this as an override option. What if we define as an append option? Then it's going to append the data continuously. But if you are going to append the data, then there will be chances that you are duplicating the information. So in that case, what you need to do, you just need to clear that information first while you are loading the data into your destination. So first of all, let's save this data flow. Yeah, it's saved actually here, then pipeline notebook. So now I'm into my pipeline here. So we need to add another activity. If I click on activity here, we have multiple activities. If I click here on the three dot option, we have delete data. So click on that. So this I just want to keep it on the beginning. After that, I need the copy activity, and after that, I just want to add the notebook activity here. So what actually the delete data is like, after success of this one, load the copy activity, and from that we need to have that notebook activity here. So if I click on delete data, so I just need to select the source and other settings. So here under the source, I want to select here the notebook, which is this one. And inside to that, if you want to specify something else, then you can also define that here. So for example, if you want to delete a file path, you want to delete a folder, then you can also define that here, because you want to remove that whole files and folder, and then you want to do all the other stuff here. That is also possible here. But we don't have any option here, like you can delete the data from a data table here. It is just about you can delete the thing from your folders here. If I go back here to this one, yeah, this is my another one which I have added here before to this demo. So where here I have selected here the lakehouse, and then here I use the wildcard file path in the new data options. So I just will also show you how this actually looks here. So whatever file which you have under the CSV, it's going to delete that CSV file, and then from the copy activity, we'll load the data from their source into this lakehouse as a CSV files, and from the CSV file, we'll take that and load into a table here. That is what we have done on the notebook activity here. Let's have a look into these options. So we are deleting this from this lakehouse, and in the copy activity, the source is this HTTPS, and the destination here is also under the sales.csv, and it is not converting that into a Parquet file. It is directly storing the CSV file from the source here. And then from this notebook activity, we are doing the steps about that same transformation which we have seen on our demo here. So this is just one of the use cases how we can use that, but there are plenty of use cases where you can make use using the data pipeline activity here. You see everything remains the same. Like I said, it is just about we are writing it from a CSV table, not from the tables here. So this is what we can able to do it here. But still, if you want to delete something else from your data, then you don't need to use delete data here. Either you can use your notebook activity itself, like you can close this one, and the notebook you can keep it at the beginning, right? You still keep that beginning itself, but let's open up this notebook here. So here you can define that you want to delete that information from this table here. So let's change this to be append. All right. And then if I just need to drag and drop on the top here, the sales 01, which is this one. So sales_01, and we can just define this here to be delete from. So spark.sql delete from, or you can just define delete from these things. And then we can just convert from Spark Python to Spark SQL. As simple as that. So remove these comments. So deleting from this table, and then I'm going to append that information into this one. So now let's click on this one and run this and all below cells here. By doing this, what is happening is it's going to delete the information from the sales 01 table, and it extracts the information from the sales table, and then it's going to load that information again back to the addition of these columns into the sales 01 table. Meanwhile, this is loading, so I just want to add up here and just drag and drop into this canvas so that we can display the result of the sales 01 table. This is still running on. This is done, and now if I run back again to this one, Yeah, I can see the 10 data here. But now you may think about how I'm want to make sure about this is working fine or not. All right, so let's copy this, or you can again drag and drop into this one. Let's add a new code here. It is says that 32, 7, 18 rows affected, which means it is deleted, but still, I just want to clarify that. So let's add a new code here. Again, drag and drop this table, the same table, and then top 10. Now, if I run this one from the beginning, first of all, it will delete the table from this data from this table, which is actually 32,718 rows. And now if I run this one top 10 rows, it is saying no data available. And after that is going to extract the information for all these things, and it is loaded into this table. And finally, we have the information with the new data on this table. That's beautiful. These are, we can either use the copy activity or delete activity, or we can write a notebook activity here. Inside to this one, we can define the delete of the table or insert the table, append the table, or overwrite the table here. Hope it is much clear for you now at the end of the sessions how we can use the data pipeline activity in order to orchestrate our process step by step, seamless with the sequence of the flow, how we want to define that. So if you like this video, just hit the big thumbs up button. If you're new to this channel or if you haven't subscribed yet, just click on the subscribe button and also press the bell icon to get the latest notifications. But make sure to turn on notification on a devices. Share it with our friends and colleagues. If you have queries, any queries and feedback, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Keep learning. See you in the next video.